Hey guys, welcome to the show. We have Hameed on today. Hameed is the founder of CryptoCowboys.io. He's an entrepreneur that started various businesses. And before getting into the crypto space, he was running a web brokerage, helping small business owners exit their e-com businesses, and has also built and sold an app company a few years back. Now he's a crypto enthusiast, influencer, and runs his own YouTube channel by the name of Crypto Cowboys. So you could check him out. Thanks for hopping on the show today, Hameed. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Pretty well, thanks. Can't complain.
Awesome. Well, let me intro you as well because we're going to be putting this video on our YouTube channel. But for our
Awesome.
audience, Dan, actually, me and Dan have known each other, I think, for about 6, 7 months now. Uh,
Yep.
and Dan is actually the founder of blockxglobal.com and Cryptify Inc. He's an influencer in the crypto space and has been a tech investor for more than 5 years. And you can find him on Instagram or Telegram. Username is @whoisdanbrown. So Dan, hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, dude. I see you. I see you on Instagram too. I see you in the gym all the time with your mask on. I like to stay active too and
Yeah.
work out. Well, what's your favorite and like least favorite workouts you're doing right now? What are you up to?
Um, yeah, I'm just trying to get back in shape, man. My least favorite workout, I would say shoulders. And the reason why I say that is because I tore my labrum or
Yeah.
partially tore it about 4 years ago. It healed, but these things never heal correct. So I hate doing shoulders, bro. What I honestly, as you get older, I start to hate everything. so, so I used to enjoy the gym. I'm starting to enjoy it again, but this thing's hurt, but something you got to do if you want to stay young. So
Yeah,
I'd hate it even more if I didn't take care of my body and my health. You know what I mean?
definitely.
So
So I'm gonna throw a wild guess out there. Say your favorite workout's arms then?
no, actually it's not. I think I like to run. My
Run,
favorite
yeah.
thing to do
Get
is
that
run.
runner's high.
Yeah, seriously. And it just helps you stay sharp. You got to protect the brain, man. And, people
Definitely.
want to lift weights and look all big and buff. But as you get older, you start to realize, like, well, you got to take care of the insides first. And what I mean by that is you got to take care of your cardiovascular. So I love to run. And when I run on the treadmill, it's so boring, yet it really helps you with discipline, you know, when you're on the treadmill. If you can stay on a treadmill and run for like 2, 3 miles straight, um, it teaches you to finish the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I
You know
mean,
what I
we
mean?
sit in
So
front of our computers all day, right? And then when you're on the treadmill, you're just completely switching it up. Personally, I don't really like running on the treadmill. I like running outside when I can, when it's not like freezing cold.
yeah,
But yeah, like you get to that point where you're just tired and your brain is like, okay, you're tired, you could quit now. And then
right. Yeah.
you have to push past that and you hit that second wind,
Yeah,
and that's always like an empowering feeling.
absolutely. And that habit spills over into other areas of your life. You know what I mean? So that's why I like running, because you can quit easily. And if you don't, you're just building a better habit, and then that habit will reflect in other areas of life. So, but truthfully, I
Definitely.
really don't like running. So, but that's why I do like running, if that makes sense. So,
Yep. Yep. I
yeah,
got
man,
you.
just trying to stay young, and just trying to get back into shape. I kind of fell off the wagon past couple years, and just want to stay young, man, and feel young,
Yeah, well, that's
right?
good. That's important. That's really important. Health is wealth, right?
Yeah, for sure. Plus, I love pizza, so I want to work out so I can
Yeah,
burn
you
all
got
that crap off,
so you
So,
could eat. Yep. So I guess let's dive right in here, dude.
yeah,
You're working on Crypto Cowboys, growing it.
yeah.
How did Crypto Cowboys come to be?
Okay, so about a year and a half ago. So I bought my first Bitcoin, not to sound too long-winded, but I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013. It was really because of hype, man. Like everyone was talking about Bitcoin. I didn't do my due diligence. So I bought a Bitcoin in 2013, just kept it in Coinbase and never touched it. And then it saw the price drop and I was like, oh, whatever. It's, another speculative asset, a lot of hype. But, I just made a judgment. I didn't really do my due diligence. And then I had a bunch of friends who didn't know each other who were talking about Bitcoin in 2016. And I started investing again because I started looking at the charts and I saw that Bitcoin was going up uh, from November to December. I think it went from like 400 to 700 from what I remember, then 800 and hit like 1,000, dropped down to 800. So about end of December, beginning of January 2017, I started buying up Bitcoin again. And then I started reading about Bitcoin as well, so I can really understand like what makes Bitcoin valuable. But then, so I was a passive investor in Bitcoin, and then a buddy of mine was really big on altcoins, and he was trying to learn how to trade, and he started talking about ICOs. And I didn't know much about altcoins, and I was like, it just sounds like a bunch of knockoffs. Fast forward, he gets into an ICO and made like 200 grand in like 4 weeks off of like a $6,000 investment.
Wow.
And you hear that, and then that speaks to your greed. You know what I mean? So I heard, right, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, tell me about these ICOs. They started kind of explaining it to me. I was like, you know what? We got to do our due diligence because there's a lot of BS, I'm sure, in the space, just like any other space. And there's going to be a lot of fraudulent activity. So we need to like find the right projects to invest in, like the one you invested in. So we put together a group of friends and we just started collaborating. We first started off on Slack, started collaborating on all these different ICOs started in May 2017, started collaborating on all these different ICOs throughout the summer. And then people just started telling people. And then the Slack group started growing. So it went from like 16 of us to like a couple hundred and like 300 by the end of the year. So I figured, okay, well, it seems like there's a lot of, and we did really well in 2017. I mean, who didn't? If you guys started early 2017, right? Or 2016 or anything pre 2017. So I was like, there's a lot of stuff people don't know. And a lot of people are buying into what they're hearing online, and a lot of the stuff that's being shilled online is wrong. There's a lot of misinformation online, and I'm not saying I know it all. I don't, but what I wanted to do was just share what I do know, and at the same time get feedback on what I think I know, because I may be wrong. But I wanted to be honest about it and kind of, in a sense, document the process. So that's kind of how Crypto Cowboys started as a collaboration, and then it ended up being more of a group of us. Really, it's me, and now it's me and my friend who's a prop trader. We started the YouTube channel, and we're just trying to provide content on projects we think have legs for the next 3 to 5 years, and also provide like technical analysis and market updates from me and my friend being Ed. He works prop trader, works for a hedge fund. He's on the institutional side. So a lot of these traders in the market that are on social media or on YouTube, they're not working on the institutional side. They've probably been trading for like 2-3 years. This guy's been trading for 5 years, and he works for an institution, runs a fund, you know what I mean? He runs not runs, but he works for a hedge fund. And, he's meeting with other institutions. He's helping his clients grow their portfolio, and he knows what's going on. He understands the true macro in the market, at least on the institutional side. So we wanted to give that perspective and give real information as much as possible. Not the hype, not the, hey guys, this coin I think is going to go 10x or 100x, because I think that's not the correct way to approach it. So that's in a nutshell how Crypto Cowboys started.
Cool. Yeah, I think we've seen many times over how many people are willing to enter into a coin early, shill it. They don't care about the project. They don't care about the utility of it. They're just literally in it for some quick pump and dump profits, and there's so many scams in the marketplace now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's actually sickening. Like, you and I both come from an internet marketing background.
Right.
We know how rampant scammers are in that industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Crypto is like 2.0.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, there's so much bullshit. Even I was talking to my friend last night, and he goes to all these different events across the globe, And he was saying, these events have turned into a joke. They're charging $1,000, $2,000, and it's just a money grab. You know what I'm saying? Like it's some of these events are charging $5,000, $10,000 to go to. I'm like, what? Why? You know what I mean? Like Consensus, I think in New York was like what, a couple grand for like 2-3 days. See, cryptocurrency started from like the cyberpunk mentality, right? And it started really with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was and is, in my opinion, money for the people. It's the only real decentralized cryptocurrency, if we want to get real about it. And it's supposed to liberate people, yet we're creating these events. Yes, events are important because we need to educate people and we need to discuss and have debates about different topics to get to the truth, whatever that truth may be, to evolve as a community and, to progress this everything, So, but, these events have become so expensive that the average person can't go. So it's becoming like more of a corporate thing. Right. So it's like, well, in my opinion, that's the antithesis of why this asset class was born in the first place.
Definitely.
So,
I think also a big issue is the crypto community fights amongst themselves. Like we're fighting each other when we should be working together to accelerate the technology, create infrastructure, and bring it out to the masses.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like the other space, man. There's just a ton of ego, a lot of assumption. A lot of people think they know more than what they think. You just see it all across the board. And that's why I like to tell people, like, look, man, I'm no expert. I'm just documenting my process and trying to share as much information that I know, and I could be wrong. This is why, people should say on their YouTube channels or in their content on social media, like, hey, this is not investment advice. It's just my opinion, because it truly is my opinion. And I try to bring as much facts to the table, but, there's guys who've been in this space for like 4, 5, 6 years, who really know what they're talking about. And they are blockchain engineers, right? They're actually building products. Those are the guys I would really, digest their information, not to say to not digest ours, but because, my opinion, me and you know more than the average investor, because we've gone through our own growing pains in the past year and a half and 2 years and learned so much, right? So we want to share that with our audience. But, as an investor coming into the space, I would tell people, be cautious of who you pay attention to. Definitely. So easy to get sucked into some of these guys who are just pumping bullshit on YouTube and different various channels or even Medium articles. I would just really do your due diligence of who you pay attention to.
Yep. Anyone with a couple bucks can throw up some
PR.
Yep. Police going. And
dude, I can't name names, but I'm seeing it. I'm not trying to catch a lawsuit, but I'm seeing it right now. I'm like, wow, you guys are terrible. But
ruthless.
It is what it is. So I mean,
But you've been in crypto since 2013, so that's pretty early. Well, I mean, you bought your first Bitcoin in 2013.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say I've been in it though, because that wouldn't be honest. I bought my first in 2013, and then I just really started getting in like end of 2016.
Okay, so you got into crypto more heavily in 2016. You've seen the industry develop. I mean, it happens so quickly. Like there's so much innovation in the industry, which is great.
Yeah.
What do you think right now in Q4 2018? What's the most glaring hole in crypto? Like what problem would you like to see solved?
Onboarding and security. So, and that I think is what is really scaring a lot of retail investors and institutional investors as well. Like if you go to Google and type in how to invest in cryptocurrencies, right? There's so many different steps and articles. And like step one is like, open up a Coinbase account or Gemini account or even Kraken, right? Deposit money, wire money to Coinbase, buy your first Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, or now Ethereum Classic as well. But predominantly Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then if you want to buy an altcoin, you got to trade or send that Bitcoin over to like Binance. So you set up an account on Binance, you go through the whole KYC process, right? Then at the same time, then you got to learn how to trade coins for altcoins if you want to own altcoins on these different exchanges. Then you got to learn about cold storage, and you got to make sure that you're transferring your Bitcoin to a Bitcoin address, right? Because people make the mistake of transferring Bitcoin to a Litecoin address or Ethereum address or
Definitely.
vice versa. And then, so there's so many areas where there's so much room for human error that the technology, in my opinion, is just not where it needs to be. Like there's so many steps. I get step one, Coinbase. Step two, open up exchanges, open up accounts at all these exchanges. Step three, transfer. Step four, buy a cold storage wallet. Step five, this, that, set up Google two-factor authenticator. Step six, all this extra security, malware, antivirus software on your laptop. Call your mobile carrier. Make sure you put a PIN number on your accounts and give them instructions to only allow the phone to be ported over in an actual specific store location with you present, showing your photo ID and presenting your PIN number. There's so many things that you have to do to protect yourself, and most people are not going to do that. So there's so many more hackers in this world. It's getting easier and easier for you to either lose your cryptos because of human error or get hacked. You know what I mean? Like get your phone hacked, get your computer hacked. It's happening more and more every single day, and this is what I believe is scaring. And on top of that, the volatility, the lack of liquidity, and so on. But there's so many issues, mechanical issues, that is, with the process of owning cryptos, storing cryptos, and buying other cryptos, that we need to make the onboarding process a lot easier. Right. So I think there needs to be like a one-stop shop solution at step two without having to go through step 2 through step 8 or however many steps it takes to be able to really fully immerse yourself into the space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total
Onboarding and
sense.
security, in my opinion.
Yes, I see security as definitely the biggest issue. Like we still don't even have a secure that can manage security for people's funds. If you're an institutional investor and you have hundreds of millions of dollars worth in Bitcoin, you're not going to leave it on a cold storage. I mean, now people are doing it because there's no other choice, but security is such a big issue. There's hackers having field days with the general public.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. And so that I think has to be solved. Like there has to be, and it will, I mean, there's a lot of very intelligent people. I mean, I can't say this for certain, but it's pretty, I think most people would agree across the board that the best developers in the world are in this space. So I think we will solve that problem eventually. When? I don't know. It could be in 12 months. It could be in 10 years. Who knows? But I think eventually that problem will be solved, and I think onboarding will be a lot more simplified and easier and secure and safe, to a point where you sit in your chair and your chair is not going to fall apart, right? So you sit in this chair because you're confident that a peg is not going to fall off and you're just going to fall to the floor. It's kind of the same thing with crypto. I think we will get to that point. It's just a matter of time and when.
Yeah. Well, we definitely need to create mass adoption.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, with all that said, I mean, security is definitely important, but there is lots of innovation in crypto, like we touched on just earlier.
Yeah.
What are you excited to see coming in crypto over the like let's say the next 12 months?
I'm really hoping that I hope Ethereum can scale. I don't know if I'd say I'm excited about that, but I'm hoping to see that.
It's a tough one.
Let's say it again.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I know I was at an event, this influencer, and he said that he thinks Ethereum has the best chance at succeeding in terms of scaling smart contract blockchain because the developer community is the biggest. And that's usually what people say. The developer community is the biggest. But I don't know. So, and the reason why I say that is because another buddy of mine, and this is a guy who's very credible in the space. He's a developer. He's actually launching his own security token, his company, and they already have a parent company. So I can't really discuss who it is or what their company is, but he's become a good friend of mine. He's been in the space for like 5 years, not just as an investor, but also as an engineer, as a developer. And he gave me good insight, and it made a lot of sense to me. He said, the problem he sees with Ethereum was that their community is too big and they gave up too much power to the dev community. And I know this will go against what the seasoned crypto investor or crypto enthusiast or crypto developer will probably argue with me on this point, but this is what he said. It makes sense to me. It's like, I think if you give up too much power to the community, I think money should be decentralized, right? That's for sure. But I think when you're trying to build like a startup, because these are all startups, right? Outside of sound money. So money should be decentralized. This is a social issue. The end product should all be decentralized. Ethereum, everything should be decentralized. But to get to that point where you can be immutable, decentralized, and at the same time scale, I think there needs to be some form of decentralization. And the thing is that for them to scale, I think the problem is, and this is just hearsay, so don't take this as face value, but I think the problem is that getting the developer community to agree to come to consensus on what direction they should go in to scale is tough. And I think that's what's maybe slowing down development.
Right, because it's such a big community of developers.
Yeah, and to get everyone to agree, like, hey, we're going to go in this direction. Just think of like a startup, man. Like if you have a startup of like 9 or 10 people, and just to get that startup of 10 people to agree, hey guys, we're going to go in this direction with the startup, not everyone's going to agree, right? So that's why usually the rule of thumb is don't have more than 2 business partners. You got 3 or 4 business partners on a project, it just gets too tough to move forward. Right. Yeah. And I don't know if that's the best comparison to make, but I just think, I think that is an issue, but I think eventually they'll get it, but I'm not sure. It's just a guess. If anything, I'm excited to see who can scale, which project can scale to where they can be immutable, be decentralized, or at least the end product will be decentralized, and they can still handle X amount of transactions per second. Right now, you're just hearing a bunch of stories, right? Oh, this project's going to handle 500,000 transactions a second, or this one 10,000 a second, but they don't have a network effect. They haven't proven it yet, right? Or the test nets, in their test net, they show that they can handle X amount of transactions a second. Right, but how many users do they have onboarded right now into their network on their blockchain? Mm-hmm. Probably not many, so there's just a lot of stories, but not a lot of proof. And I'm hoping we see that in the next 12 to 24 months where we see a breakthrough. And I'm hoping it's Ethereum, because Ethereum has by far the most users on their blockchain. They have the most projects that are built, obviously, on the Ethereum blockchain. And I'd love to see a lot of these projects succeed. So I'm anxious, and I don't want to say I'm excited, but I'm anxious to see if they can get it done in the next several years.
Yeah, as am I. I mean, Ethereum was like a huge change for crypto. It was a big step forward, and hopefully that they are able to work out their scaling issues. I wanted to ask you if you could tell me something that you see as true that almost nobody else agrees with you on. So is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, man. I think that would be it. And I don't even know if that's true. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Right. But like I was saying, I was asking this influencer, and he said, well, I think the Ethereum developer community is the biggest. That's why they're going to succeed. And I was like, do you think that's the reason why they may not succeed? Because that could be counterproductive, because there's too many people trying to make a decision and no one can come to a consensus on a developer level. And he couldn't really respond. He was like, well, that's why they're going to grow, because they're the biggest developer. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. You're just playing politics now. You're not really addressing my question or my concern. But yeah, so I think that is, and I know a lot of people will say, no, man, it needs to be decentralized. Yes, the end product needs to be decentralized. And maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I just think to get the developer community to move forward, I think there needs to be some of the power needs to be centralized to a certain degree without compromising the end product, if that makes sense. And I don't even know if that that may even be an oxymoron. I don't even know. And again, that's why I say, if you really want to understand everything at a really granular level, hell, man, talk to a blockchain engineer, right? Talk to a Jimmy Song, go on his YouTube channel. I know he's Bitcoin maximalist, and I know a lot of guys in the space are like, oh, these damn Bitcoin maximalists. They just feel threatened. I'm like, well, maybe you should read the Bitcoin Standard and you'll probably understand why they're Bitcoin maximalists. Read
Right.
chapters 10 through 14 and you'll understand why some of these guys are Bitcoin maximalists, right? So that's why in the beginning I said, I think the only true, if there's one thing I would say that's true that most people will probably argue with me, is that I think Bitcoin is the only decentralized cryptocurrency or crypto asset in the market. I think everything else is prone to either, if they're proof of work, they're prone to 51% attack. If they're proof of stake, I'm not too sure about that consensus algorithm. My opinion could evolve in 6 months as I learn more, but as of now, I think, and I could be butchering this, so my apologies to the audience, but I think anything that has to do with proof of stake or delegated proof of stake, where it's a voting system, I think that is more prone to collusion, and that is the opposite of being decentralized. Whereas with proof of work, there's a barrier to entry, meaning you have to spend resources. There's an upfront cost for you to turn an ROI as a miner, somebody who's running a node, a Bitcoin node. You got to spend money. So for someone to try to break, or a company, there's no supercomputer in the world that even comes remotely close to having the computing power to break Bitcoin. Bitcoin's network is so big that every day it's becoming even more secure. So for any mining pool or any company or anyone who wanted to post fraudulent transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, it's going to cost them money. And if any mining pool was to get together and form a conglomerate and try to 51% attack Bitcoin, they would actually cannibalize their own investment. So why would they do that? You see what I'm saying? So it's like that's the only
the people just
right. It's the only decentralized cryptocurrency as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And I mean, if there's somebody who's a blockchain engineer who really understands, you don't need just to be an engineer, you need to understand economics. If they can explain to me why they think Bitcoin Cash or other proof of work cryptocurrencies or proof of stake cryptocurrencies are more decentralized than Bitcoin, I'd love to hear it, because right now everything I'm hearing is just not a good argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be the statement I would say that most people would probably disagree with me on, but I'm sticking to it until I learn some new stuff. But yeah.
Well, it's 2018 now. Crypto is definitely evolving quicker than it has ever evolved, I would say.
Yeah.
It's only been around not even 10 years, well, Bitcoin at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you think we are in the whole adoption curve? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think we are in crypto? 1 being the beginning, 10 being towards the end.
Oh man, I think we're in 1 or between 1 and 2, to be honest. The longer I'm in this space, let me ask you this, what do you think? Okay, so here's my opinion. The longer I've been in this space, the more I realize it's going to take a longer time than we think. Not too long, but you get what I'm saying? Like, I think it's gonna, like, we always hear, oh, we're just a couple years out from everything scaling, or I'm like, I think maybe we're maybe 5 or 10 years out. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion. I think we're between 1 and 2. I think mass adoption is going to take quite a few years. I think people are thinking, because we had this bull run in the end of 2017, like it's just around the corner again. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a while in terms of price action. In terms of technology, I think it's going to be a while as well. I think fundamentals won't really kick in, or slowly kicking in, but I think we won't see true mass adoption for another several years. That's just me being conservative, I think.
Absolutely. I would agree
optimistic,
with you.
sorry, optimistic, not conservative. Yeah, these things don't take a while. What do you think, though?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. we're in the we're one,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
two, because the technology is so clunky and
Mhm.
there's barely any infrastructure. A lot of people heard about Bitcoin and crypto for the first time, the very first time ever during this
Yeah.
last bull run. So they think that that's how crypto is every single year,
Right.
you know, in terms of price.
Right.
So when you look at the actual fundamentals behind it all, you realize that we're still way far off.
Yeah, man.
Like we
Yeah.
can't even get, there's a lot of steps that need to be taken to create mass adoption. So for
Yeah.
those who are strong enough to hold it out during the early days, then you'll prosper. But the ones who are a little bit more weak-hearted will probably eventually get wrecked, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm seeing it now. I know a lot of people that got
As am I.
wrecked, and it's like, dude, sorry you had to go through that, but that's life. That's the lesson that needs to be learned. It's like,
People who made fun of you during like January when you sold your ICO tokens,
right.
for 10x. Now
Yeah.
they're
Now they
they're
wish it was
they're
January.
eating their shirts.
Yeah. For sure. I think if anything, I think Bitcoin dominance is going to grow. I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll see an altcoin run, but I think a lot of these projects are going to die. I think
they
like
have to.
I think if you look on coinmarketcap.com, you do a history snapshot from like 2014. Look at the top 20 coins. Are any of them around? Just like Litecoin, and I think Ripple was around back then, if I'm not mistaken. Like if you look at the top 50 from back then, or even 2015, the top 15, look at the top 50 today, it's totally different landscape. A lot of those projects are falling out the top 100, top 200. I think you're going to see that again with a lot of these altcoins. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people think, oh, they hear these slogans, buy the effing dip, hodl or whatever. But it's like, dude, you can't be a fanatic. Like you got to know when to apply these terms and when not to. And I
right.
think from what I'm understanding, I'm not a day trader or anything, but the buy the dip doesn't really work in the bear market. So they'll hear like a Warren Buffett statement, like when there's blood in the streets, that's when you should be greedy. When everyone's greedy, that's when you should sell, or something like that. And it's like,
Yeah, be fearful.
be fair, right. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but you also still don't be a fanatic of these statements. Like really think these things through in that moment, because you may need to be a little fearful when everyone's, because a lot of these projects I don't think are going to survive. One, because they don't have the funding anymore, right? So a lot of their token value has gone to hell, and they don't have the
Mm,
funding to continue development. You can go to Telegram chats and they're dormant. They haven't updated their Twitter handle, their Facebook page. You know what I mean? That tells you something.
yeah,
So I think people need to be really cautious about the projects they invest in, and really don't get sucked into the hopium that's being sold to you, especially by a lot of people on YouTube. And there's a lot of great, by the way, I'm not trying to bash everyone on YouTube. We both have YouTube channels, but the point is that there's a lot of good people in the space on YouTube, and there's a lot of people who are just shilling misinformation on YouTube. So you as an investor, you really got to do your due diligence and just really, really be a critical thinker, man. Pay attention to who you're listening to, pay attention to the projects you're researching. And just because you hear a great idea doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come to fruition. It's still an
yeah.
idea, you know, go out
There's a
there.
lot of influencers in the space who take firm opinions and they
Yeah.
put themselves on one side very firmly. They stick with it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all speculation. They don't
It
know if
is,
we've
man.
bottomed out. They don't
Right.
know where we're going to bottom out. They don't know
Yeah.
when the bull run's coming, when we're going to
Yeah.
get out of this bear market. So I think it's very important to form your own opinion and create resources around you that can
Yeah.
influence that opinion, that are
Yep.
trustworthy. But it's not black and white,
It's
you know?
not, man. It's gambling, really. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in the space and you're throwing money at it, I hope this. We're not giving investment advice here, but I would say I hope you're only using money you're willing to lose, because it is gambling. You're essentially a VC, and with VCs, they invest in 100 companies, knowing that only one or two are going to succeed.
Right.
And I think people need to. I see it, man. I see it all the time. Like oh, this project's going to do great. And I'm like, why is it going to do it? Because this person said so. And I'm like, dude, no, that's not the way to approach it.
You get a 60% bonus, like.
Right. It's like, no, dude, that's
Yeah.
actually the reason why you should run away. But
Yeah.
that's a whole nother.
Why do you think that most people fail in crypto? Like, what's the big reason, like the one reason you think that most people are failing right now?
From an investor standpoint, I think it's greed
Hmm.
and fear. I think people got in because there was a fear of missing out. Um, and I think it's greed and laziness. Right. So I remember last year, man, on Facebook, there was all these ads, and I'm sure you saw it.
Of
You
course.
missed out on Bitcoin, but don't miss out on this one. Right. And these stories that are being sold, and those stories really speak to that emotion, which is fear of missing out and also greed. And, people, I think that's why they failed, because they allow their emotions to get the best of them.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it too, man. I'm no exception. I'm guilty of it as well. Luckily, I'm doing okay. But the point is that I could have been doing a lot better if I managed my emotions better, right, in 2017. So I just think that's why a lot of people failed. They just got in over their head. They invested more than they should have. They weren't risk averse. They got greedy, and now a lot of them are paying the price. And this is the learning lesson in life. You got to go through this. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
so it is what it is. Look at the NASDAQ, man. It hit 6,000, I think, back in 2001, and then the whole dot-com bubble crashed, and then it didn't recover until about 10. I think it didn't hit 6,000. I'm not looking at the charts. I don't really look at the NASDAQ, but just you'd probably know better than me. But I think it took like 13 years for it to reach back to where it
Yeah.
was in 2001.
Over a decade for sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying it's going to happen here. It may not take over a decade because this is an entire new asset class, but a lot of these projects that you think are going to do well, you may not ever see those prices again. Or if you do, it may take another 10 or 15 years,
Hmm.
so you just really got to do your due diligence. You got to learn how to manage your emotions. And I think a lot of people fail to do that, me included. And, I wouldn't say I paid the price completely, even though I did miss out on a lot. But I want to say I completely paid the price because I'm still doing okay. But I know a lot of people who are, not doing well right now, and it sucks. So, um, yeah, I would say those three. I would say just not managing your emotions, man, and
Yeah.
not doing
Yeah.
your
Well,
doing your
it's
due
tough.
diligence.
It's tough to manage your emotions, especially
Yeah,
when there's a lot of money involved. But the
yeah,
best investors think very logically. They stick with their in their circle of competence, and
yeah,
they execute their strategy no matter how they feel about it. So
yeah, for
it's
sure.
important to learn from traditional investors like that and apply what they can teach you into the crypto space, because it's gambling, but it's still an asset class, and there has to be some kind of utility backing the valuation of all these tokens. And if there's not, then you're gonna miss out. I mean, a lot of people, they have the debate on Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. Goes Gets
Yeah.
pretty crazy online. What's your opinions on that? I think I know what you're gonna say, but
Did you see the Roger Ver
I
tone
did.
base? Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good debate.
it was.
See, I don't know. I think we just have to let time play out. I don't think Bitcoin Cash is going away. I know Tone Vase. I follow Tone Vase, and I like him a lot because he's negative. And I think you
Yeah,
got to be a little bit negative in life to not too negative. There's a balance. I'm not saying being negative, but you got to have a little bit of negativity to protect yourself to a certain degree,
yeah.
uh, but not let it overpower you. But I think Bitcoin Cash will be around because you have good business people, salespeople behind it,
Hmm.
and they're not going anywhere. Like these guys are pushing hard, especially in Japan and in Asia, to further the business development side of Bitcoin Cash. So to get more adoption. Now, will it survive in 10 years? I don't know. I think Bitcoin will. If I had to choose, obviously, I would put my money in Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin Cash. I've traded it. If you can make money trading it, go for it. You can make money trading Ripple or any of these coins, go for it. If you know what you're doing, I think you should actually, right? So, um, but in terms of long term, I would put my money on Bitcoin for sure, because it is the most secure blockchain, is the most decentralized, and every day its user base is growing and it's becoming more secure. And you can go to blockchain.info and you can check that out for yourself. I'd love to see though if there's like a metric, and it's hard to what is it? It's hard to measure this, but I'd love to see like a metric. Sorry, I'd love to see a metric that shows actual users on that blockchain, not just wallets that are transacting, but actual users, not wallets that are trading on an exchange, not wallets that are sending from one wallet to the other. And I don't know how they can do this. I don't know if there's a software or third party analytics company that can do this, but could actually show real users using that protocol or that cryptocurrency for transactions, for anything, right? Other than trading. I'd love to see how many users are on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain right now, as opposed to Bitcoin, and even Litecoin as well. But to answer your question, I don't think Bitcoin Cash is going away, because you have Roger Ver behind it, and you got to give the guy props, man. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if Bitcoin would be where it's at today, or this whole market would be where it's at today. I know a lot of people don't like him because of his tactics and the way he debates. He kind of skirts. He's a politician. I get it.
Strategy, right?
Yeah, he's a politician. It's hard to debate the guy because he won't really address your talking points. He will look for other perceived discrepancies to point that out, and then just try to stir the conversation in that direction to win the debate.
The master of the spin too.
Right, exactly. He's a spinner. So, it is what it is. Some people are wired like that. I get it. That's why these guys like Jimmy Song, Tone Vays, I think out-debated him in my opinion. But
I think so too. And what I like about Tone is that he is very conservative.
Yeah.
Yet he will admit when he's wrong. He's not always like, "Oh, Bitcoin's gonna crash. You guys are fucked." Like, he'll say, "Okay, we're saying this is bearish, but we had a bullish signal, and we could be going into a bull market." So I like that about him.
Yeah, he's honest, man. I actually had drinks with him in San Francisco like 6 months ago, and he's just brutally honest, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when I first started following him like last year, I was like, damn, this guy's really negative, right? But that's because I didn't know as much. So, but now it's like, I get it. And anyhow, so to answer your question, I think Bitcoin Cash should be around because it has all the salespeople, the business development people behind it. You have Roger Ver, you have Calvin Irie, who was it Bodog? I think it was the largest online gambling outlet in the world. He's behind it. They're like some of the biggest miners. So I think they're going to be around for some time. Sorry, I'm getting this.
No worries.
They're going to be around for some time. But I think Bitcoin will always be king.
Yeah. As do I. I mean, market dominance shows that. I would suspect that there are more actual people transacting with Bitcoin than there are transacting with Bitcoin Cash, although that's speculation. We don't know. We just have wallets. But we like to do predictions, so
sure,
no pressure, but what's your short-term and long-term price prediction for Bitcoin?
So this is just a guess. I don't have a crystal ball, but it is fun, I guess, to predict. So my prediction is that I think the CBOE ETF announcement that's supposed to come on September 30th, I think they're going to delay it one more time.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to push it to Q1. So I think the market, people are going to think, oh, we're going to get a bull run. You're going to see all these comparisons to last year. The price of Bitcoin at this time last year was this, and this is where we're at. So we should expect the price to rise. And I think whatever you think is going to happen, usually the opposite happens. So, and I could be wrong. Maybe the ETF does get passed. Who knows? But I think they're going to push it off. This is my guess. Who knows? Nobody really knows. But I think they'll push it. They'll delay it because they can still do that. They have like one more delay, I think. And I think they'll delay it another 90 days to Q1. And I think the price will fall. I think Bitcoin will fall below 5,800. I think it could fall between 4,305 grand. That's just a guess. And I'm going off of my market update videos I do with Ed, because he does TA on this. I think it's going to break that. I think it's hovering around 6,000 for such a long time that it's going to break resistance and go below 5,800. And I think we could see a price increase over the coming weeks. And I think come September 30th, and this is all a guess, guys. I'm not even a chartist like that. I think after the September 30th announcement, I think the announcement will be a delay. I think in October we'll see new yearly lows. And I think it's really going to scare a lot of the market, where you're going to see altcoins drop even further. I think we can see the market cap drop to 150 billion or below, but I don't think it'll stay there long. So
that would force a lot of people who are holding a lot of Bitcoin to have to sell.
Yeah, or holding a lot of altcoins to have to sell and
Or
really
alts,
just wreck these projects, which is probably needed. And I think there's just a lot of institutional money sitting on the sidelines waiting to scoop up cheaper Bitcoin.
Definitely.
And this
Just
happens
price suppressing Bitcoin.
Yeah, this happens all the time, man. Look, right now in the crypto market, I think it's 80, conservatively speaking, I think it's 90% retail, 10%, not conservative, sorry, 10% institutional. I think that's actually pretty generous. I think it's actually a higher percentage retail than what I just said right now. But in traditional markets, it's like 80% institutional, 20% retail in the stock market, right? So I think, my opinion, I think the institutions, and just my guess, guys, I'm no, expert here, but my guess is that I think institutional money wants cheaper Bitcoin, and I don't think they want to pay $6,000 for it. That's why I think they'll push off the CBOE ETF announcement to Q1. But I think we will see a lot more volatility in Bitcoin.
And how about long term? How do you think we're trending long term? Like, let's say 5 years from now.
Oh, I think it's going to be way higher than ever. I don't know price. I'd say at least 50 grand and up. I think I think Bitcoin's going to be, because there's so much Bitcoin that's lost. There's so many people that are holding Bitcoin, no matter what the price is, they're not going to sell it. Mm-hmm. I think Bitcoin is just going to continue growing. I think eventually you're going to see like Bitcoin-backed banks that'll settle transactions on Bitcoin with Bitcoin. I think you're going to eventually see that. I don't think you're going to use Bitcoin to buy your cup of coffee, because I don't think you need that security just to buy like something that's $2-3, right? I think the security is more for like transferring value, a significant amount of value. So settling debts or settling transactions or whatever it is. I think that'll be the transactional layer. And I think there'll be banks that handle that are Bitcoin backed. Therefore, I think there's going to be, a lot of people are going to be holding Bitcoin as they've been holding. And because of that, and because there's so much lost Bitcoin, the circulating supply is a lot less than what we think it is. So because there's even farther less supply than we think there is, that we see on CoinMarketCap, and the demand is just going to increase, I think that's going to really drive the price up to prices we couldn't imagine. That's just my guess, right? So what, gold is what, 7 trillion? Right? So gold is 7 trillion. Bitcoin is what? It's like $130 billion market cap, if I'm not mistaken, right now.
Just Bitcoin, yeah. It's about 130.
Sorry, $109 billion market cap at the time of this recording, right? So, dude, look, Bitcoin has more intrinsic value than gold, right?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so gold, I can't carry gold,
I'm sure many people would disagree with us.
Yeah, that's because they just don't understand. The Bitcoin maximalists, the people who really understand the space would totally agree. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin has more intrinsic value. It's faster, speed, time, convenience, and it's more secure, right? And there's a complete finite supply. Whereas a gold, as the price of gold goes up, it makes it's easier for mining companies to continue mining, right? So the gold supply could continue increasing, whereas Bitcoin, we know there's a complete finite supply. So Bitcoin is faster, easier to transact, and more secure. with that being said, I think Bitcoin can eventually eclipse gold's market cap. And if that happens, I mean, you do the math, bro. I mean, dude, that's 80 times today's
Yeah,
price. I'm not
definitely.
saying that's going to be in 5 to 10 years of price. That could be 50 years from now. But the point is that I think we're on our way to that eventually.
Yeah, I
So,
agree with you. Supply and demand
right.
is a fundamental of economics, right? And
Yep.
there's not going to be any more Bitcoin created once the last Bitcoin is mined. So,
Yeah. By 2020, and halving is coming in January, I think, of 2020.
yeah,
The halving. So, and then we'll hit 20 million Bitcoin mined by like the year 2025. And then the next 116 years, the remaining 1 million Bitcoin will be mined.
right. And in
So
that time period, imagine how much Bitcoin is going to be lost, right?
exactly. So what I'm saying is like there's even less circulating supply than you and I think there is.
Hmm.
And there's going to be people holding. And because of that, then the demand is going to increase because the public will become more educated, more aware. And plus, off-chain scaling is going to become better, I'm assuming, in the next several years with Lightning Network and other second layer protocols. So I think, yeah, man, I think the price of Bitcoin, that's what I was saying. I think Bitcoin dominance may even go up. I'm not trying to sound like a maximalist, but the more I learn, I'm like, shit, I get it. I get why these people are like, these are shit coins and Bitcoin, and that's it. Even though if you go to our channel, we'll have videos on VeChain and this and that. I'm not saying that I think they have a place in this world, and I think they will do well, and I think their coin and their ecosystem will be a utility eventually. I'm hoping and I'm betting. But in terms of value and price action, I think Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to rise.
Yeah,
It'll be volatile. It may drop down to 35%, but in the coming years, I think Bitcoin will really dominate the market more
yeah.
so.
If you can't handle those 80%, 70% losses, then, you shouldn't be investing in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't stomach it,
We're
man,
hoping
just
for some volatility too, right? As
yeah, for
all the
sure.
traders listening to this are like praying for it.
Absolutely, because they can leverage, man. They can go on was it Nordic FX, do 100x leverage. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying on Bitcoin? People traders are jumping on that platform now or that exchange to trade on. I mean, traders want volatility, right? But in terms of just the actual utility and actually being used in the market, I think Bitcoin dominance in the next 5 years is going to go up. Or maybe it'll go down because there'll just be more coins just entering the market, but maybe not though. I think, yeah. Anyhow, the price of Bitcoin, I think in 5 to 10 years is really going to go up a lot.
yeah.
So, in that
Long
case,
term trending up, short term trending down.
right. And if you're not a trader, then hodling is probably the best thing to do with Bitcoin.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, that's my price prediction, at least 50 grand in the next 5 years. And that's pretty conservative. What do you think? What's your prediction?
In 5 years, it's a tough one. I would say you're being a little conservative, just with supply and demand taken into account. Just
Yeah.
one more bull run could take us to that six-figure peak. But
Yeah.
if I had to predict what the price is 5 years from now, then yeah, I would say you're right in the right range, 50 to 60 grand, but we'll have hit a higher high than that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that too. I think sometime next 5 years, we'll see an even crazier bull run and we could see over 100 grand. This is just a guess, man. Who knows? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we don't
But
know.
we're just romanticizing right now with price predictions. But I could easily see that hitting over 100 grand, and then people selling off and getting their yachts and all that jazz, and then it dropping down to 50, 60 grand, just like it hit 20 grand, now settling around 6 grand. I can see it
Mhm.
hitting like 100 grand, 150 grand, and come down and settle around like 50, 60 grand. That's what I mean by I think the price will be about 50 grand. But I agree with
Right.
you. I think it hit way past that, and settle in that area.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, dude. Thanks for
Yeah,
getting
dude.
on the show.
Absolutely.
And
Appreciate your time
thanks.
as well, bro.
Yeah. To kind of wrap things up here and pivot away from crypto for a second, I got one last question for you.
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of us have good life experience, bad life experience.
Yeah.
lots of life experience, not very much life experience. So based on your life experience, if you could tell just one last story and you can no longer tell any more stories, what would that last story be?
Um, it's a good question. I think a couple of them. I think one, I'll just say one because that was the question, right? So I think I would tell the story of my mother. So my mother has dementia, and me and my brother have debated about this. He thinks it's a hereditary thing. I don't think it is. Uh, and the story about her, I mean, just, the, the thing with her is that and everyone's got a family member who's like this, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
they give up so much for everyone else and they sacrifice so much for everyone else, they forget about themselves, right? And I that's what I saw with her. Like, she would never take care of her. She would take care of everyone else.
Do you have a
Right?
bunch of brothers and sisters, like a big
No,
family?
no, it's just one brother, but she always sacrificed for everyone. Like, you know, her side of the family, my dad's side of the family, for my dad, for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, but she never really took care of herself. And the moral of that story is, and I think that's what caused her brain to, like, she didn't, there's a lot of things, man. We can be on this show for another hour, probably 24 hours talking about this. But I think the moral of the story with her would be, love yourself first and take care of you, because you take care of you for me, I take care of me for you. And I think people forget that sometimes. I think people like her will do so much for everyone else, but they will forget to take care of themselves, and they'll overextend themselves to a point where they compromise their health and their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are becoming even more mentally unhealthy. I'm not saying that's the reason what caused her dementia, but what I'm saying is I think there's even more mental instability in this world, at least in North America, at least in the United States, than there ever was, right?
I like how you just put Canada out of that real quick.
Dude, Canada's great. I love Canada, man. People are so nice and friendly out there, and there's so much etiquette, and it just seems like everyone's just really at peace. Obviously, I haven't lived in Canada. Just a few times I visited. It's just the energy is so much better up there, in my opinion. Um, but in America, it's crazy, man. So anyhow, I think the moral of her story would be to take care of you and don't forget about you and love yourself. And that would probably be the last story I would ever tell anyone. Is her story, and it's beautiful, but it's also sad. And I can see how it led to where she is today mentally, like with her dementia. Dementia is a bad disease, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you would rather your parent have cancer than have dementia.
I can
'Cause,
relate. I have a family member with dementia as well.
yeah, it
It's tough
wrecks.
to watch. Yeah.
It is really tough. It's like the person died, but they're still alive
Yeah.
and they're a child. You know what I mean? And it's like you kind of, and I hate to say this, right? Because you want your family, your parents to live forever, but you would rather your last memory of them be in the right mental state, if that makes sense. At least for them to be sane and aware. Um, so you remember that person for who they really were, because dementia just turns you into someone else, right? Into someone who just forgets, someone who doesn't even know who they are. They start to forget who you are, and that's like heartbreaking. So the moral of the story would be: take care of yourself, love yourself first. That's how you take care of each other, is by taking care of you. Take care of you for me, take care of me for you. And that'd
Yeah.
probably be the last story I would tell somebody.
Well, I
Yeah.
couldn't have said it any better myself. You summed up. I can definitely relate. And
Yeah.
if the crypto community acted like that, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of greedy traders listening to this. Like, you don't have to tell me to take care of myself.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, I think, when you do take care of yourself, then you also will in turn take care of others in a much more capable
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah,
And
for
if
sure.
everyone in crypto does that, then maybe we can accelerate things a little quicker.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's why people, that's why it's so important. Here's part of taking care of yourself. Make sure you really pay attention to who you listen to. That's why people should follow your show, right? Because you're putting out real content, interviewing real people, asking real questions. You know what I'm saying? Without just, there's no hype. It's just real content. And that's why people should follow like your show, right? And a few others that are, influencers in this space, because you want to take care of yourself, man. Make sure you're getting influenced by the right people.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
Well, I'm
mean?
just a monkey, dude. I'm one level above a monkey, so I'm not trying to shill anything. I'm just trying to
Exactly. Yeah.
get real info out there so that people have a good resource that they can turn to
Absolutely.
look at things from an objective side.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly, I mean, this interview was great, man. I mean, everything,
Yeah,
all the questions you asked, everything was just objective. There was no hype. It was just, we're having a real conversation, and hopefully people learn from this, and hopefully they gain insight from this, and it points them in the right direction, at least to be critical thinkers and to be, to learn, right? That's what we're trying to inspire people to want to learn, not just want to be lazy about this and just, romanticize with hype. Um, and yeah, so anyhow, I think what you're doing is what this space needs.
well, thanks for stopping by,
Yeah,
Hameed.
man. Thank you for
Where
having me.
can yeah, absolutely. Where can people go check you out if they want to go check you out?
So you can go to YouTube, just type in Crypto Cowboys. We're usually hanging out there. Um, yeah, so our username on Telegram and Twitter is at Crypto Cowboys, but the last O is a zero because somebody else took that username. So you can find us on Instagram at Crypto Cowboys with the last O before the Y being a zero, and same with Twitter as well. And just come to our YouTube channel, Crypto Cowboys. Yeah, we should do this again, man. We
Yeah,
should
definitely.
have you on our show this time. You know what I mean? So
I'd love that. I'd
yeah,
love that.
for sure. All right. Well, cool, man. Thanks so much for
Appreciate it,
having me on.
guys. Yeah, appreciate your time, Hameed, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.
All right.